Good morning, my friends. It's a little dark in here. Oh, good morning. I hope you all had a nice Saturday and a good start to your Sunday. That's hot. That is hot. I got a massive headache this morning, so I'm going to try to read without crossing my eyes. All right. January 15th, Joseph interprets two dreams, Genesis 40, 1 through 23, 1887 or 1721 BC. Sometime later, Pharaoh's chief cupbearer and chief baker offended their royal master. Pharaoh became angry with these two officials, and he put them in the prison where Joseph was, in the palace of the captain of the guard. They remained in prison for quite some time, and the captain of the guard assigned them to Joseph, who looked after them. While they were in prison, Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker each had a dream one night, and each dream had its own meaning. When Joseph saw them the next morning, he noticed that they both looked upset. "Why do you look so worried today?" he asked them. And they replied, "We both had dreams last night, but no one can tell us what they mean." "Interpreting dreams is God's business," Joseph replied. "Go ahead and tell me your dreams." So the chief cupbearer told Joseph his dream first. "In my dream," he said, "I saw a grapevine in front of me. The vine had 3 branches that began to bud and blossom, and soon it produced clusters of rice of I can't read today. Hold on. The vine had 3 branches that began to bud and blossom, and soon it produced a cluster of ripe grapes. I was holding Pharaoh's wine cup in my hand, so I took a cluster of grapes and squeezed the juice into a cup. Then I placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand." "This is what the dream means," Joseph said. "The 3 branches represent 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift you up and restore you to your position as chief cupbearer. And please remember me and do me a favor when things go well for you. Mention me to Pharaoh, so that he might let me out of this place. For I was kidnapped from my homeland, the land of the Hebrews, and now I'm here in prison, and I did nothing to deserve it." When the chief baker saw that Joseph had given his first dream such a positive interpretation, he said to Joseph, "I had a dream too. In my dream there were 3 baskets of white pastries stacked on my head. The top basket contained all kinds of pastries for Pharaoh, but the birds came and ate them from the basket on my head." "This is what that dream means," Joseph told him. "The 3 baskets also represent 3 days. 3 days from now, Pharaoh will lift you up and impale your body on a pole." Yikes. "Then the birds will come and peck away at your flesh." Pharaoh's birthday came 3 days later, and he prepared a banquet for all of his officials and staff. He summoned his chief cupbearer and chief baker to join the other officials. He then restored the chief cupbearer to his former position so he could again hand Pharaoh his cup. But Pharaoh impaled the chief baker just as Joseph had predicted when he interpreted his dream. Pharaoh's chief cupbearer, however, forgot all about Joseph, never giving him another thought. The death of Isaac, Genesis 35, 28 through 29, 1886 or 1720 BC. Isaac lived for 180 years. Then he breathed his last and died at the ripe old age, joining his ancestors in death, and his son, Esau and Jacob, buried him. Pharaoh's dreams, Genesis 41, 1 through 36, 1885 or 1719 BC. 2 years had passed since Joseph had interpreted the dream of Pharaoh's chief cupbearer and chief baker. 2 full years later, Pharaoh dreamed that he was standing on the bank of the Nile River. In his dream, he saw 7 fat, healthy cows come up out of the river and begin grazing in the marsh. Then he saw 7 more cows come up from behind them from the Nile. These were scrawny and thin. Those cows stood beside the fat cows on the riverbank. Then the scrawny, thin cows ate the 7 healthy, fat cows. At this point in the dream, Pharaoh woke up. But he fell asleep again and had a second dream. This time he saw 7 heads of grain, plump and beautiful, growing on a single stalk. Then 7 more heads of grain appeared, but these were shriveled and withered by the east wind, and these thin heads swallowed up the 7 plump, well-formed heads. Then Pharaoh woke up again and realized it was a dream. The next morning Pharaoh was very disturbed by the dreams, so he called for all the magicians and wise men of Egypt. When Pharaoh told them his dreams, not one of them could tell him what they meant. Finally, the king's chief cupbearer spoke up. "Today I have been reminded of my failure," he told Pharaoh. "Some time ago you were angry with the chief baker and me, and you imprisoned us in the palace of the captain guard. One night the chief baker and I each had a dream, and each dreamed his own meaning. There was a young Hebrew man with us in prison who was slave of the captain of the guard. We told him our dreams, and he told us what each of our dreams meant. Everything happened just as he predicted. I was restored to my position as cupbearer, and the chief baker was executed and impaled on a pole." Pharaoh sent for Joseph at once, and he was quickly brought from the prison. After he shaved and changed his clothes, he went in and stood before Pharaoh. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I had a dream last night, and no one here can tell me what it means. But I have heard that when you hear about a dream, you can interpret it." "It is beyond my power to do this," Joseph replied, "but God can tell you what it means and set you at ease." So Pharaoh told Joseph his dreams. "In my dream," he said, "I was standing on the bank of the Nile River. I saw 7 fat, healthy cows come up out of the river and begin grazing in the marsh. But then I saw 7 sick-looking cows, scrawny and thin, coming up after them. I've never seen such sorry-looking animals in all the land of Egypt. These thin, scrawny cows ate the 7 fat cows. But afterward you wouldn't have known it, for they were still as thin and scrawny as before. And then I woke up. In my dream I also saw 7 heads of grain, full and beautiful, growing on a single stalk. Then 7 more heads of grain appeared, but these were blighted, shriveled, and withered by the east wind, and the shriveled heads swallowed the 7 healthy heads. I told these dreams to the magicians, but no one could tell me what they mean." Joseph responded, "Both of Pharaoh's dreams mean the same thing. God is telling Pharaoh in advance what he is about to do. The 7 healthy cows and the 7 healthy heads of grain both represent 7 years of prosperity. The 7 thin, scrawny cows that came up later and 7 thin heads of grain, withered by the east wind, represent 7 years of famine. This will happen just as I have described it, for God has revealed Pharaoh in advance what he is about to do. The next 7 years will be a period of great prosperity throughout the land of Egypt, but afterward there will be 7 years of famine, so great that all the prosperity will be forgotten in Egypt. Famine will destroy the land. This famine will be so severe that even the memory of the good years will be erased. As for having 2 similar dreams, it means that these events have been decreed by God, and he will soon make them happen. Therefore, Pharaoh should find an intelligent and wise man to put him in charge of the entire land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh should appoint supervisors over the land and let them collect 1/5 of all the crops during the 7 good years. Have them gather all the food produced in the good years that are just ahead and bring it to Pharaoh's storehouses. Store it away and guard it there, so there will be food in the cities. That way there will be enough to eat when the 7 years of famine come to the land of Egypt. Otherwise, this famine will destroy the land." Joseph made ruler over Egypt, Genesis 41:37 through 57. Joseph's suggestions were well received by Pharaoh and his officials. So Pharaoh asked his officials, "Can we find anyone else like this man, so obviously filled with the Spirit of God?" Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Since God has revealed the meaning of the dreams to you, clearly no one is as intelligent or wise as you are. You will be in charge of my court, and all of my people will take orders from you. Only I, sitting on my throne, will have a rank higher than yours." Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I hereby put you in charge of the entire land of Egypt." Then Pharaoh removed his signet ring from his hand and placed it on Joseph's finger. He dressed him in fine linen clothing and hung a gold chain around his neck. Then he had Joseph ride in the chariot reserved for his second in command, and wherever Joseph went, the command was shouted, "Kneel down." So Pharaoh put Joseph in charge of all of Egypt, and Pharaoh said to him, "I am Pharaoh, but no one will lift a hand or foot in the entire land of Egypt without your approval." Then Pharaoh gave Joseph a new Egyptian name, Zaphenath-Paneah. It's got a nice ring to it. He also gave him a wife whose name was Asenath. She was the daughter of Potiphera, the priest of On. So Joseph took charge of the entire land of Egypt. He was 30 years old when he became serving in the court of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. And when Joseph left Pharaoh's presence, he inspected the entire land of Egypt. As predicted, for 7 years the land produced bumper crops. During those years, Joseph gathered all the crops grown in Egypt and stored the grain from the surrounding fields in the cities. He piled up huge amounts of grain, like sand on the seashore. Finally, he stopped keeping records because there was too much to measure. During this time, before the first of the famine years, 2 sons were born to Joseph and his wife Asenath, the daughter of Potiphera, the priest of On. Joseph named his older son Manasseh, for he said, God has made me forget all my troubles and everyone in my father's family. Joseph named his second Ephraim, for he said, God has made me fruitful in this land of my grief. At last, the 7 years of bumper crop throughout the land of Egypt came to an end. Then 7 years of famine began, just as Joseph had predicted. The famine also struck all the surrounding countries, but throughout Egypt there was a plenty of food. Eventually, however, the famine spread throughout the land of Egypt as well. And when the people cried out to Pharaoh for food, he told them, "Go to Joseph and do whatever he tells you." So with severe famine everywhere, Joseph opened up the storehouses and distributed grain to the Egyptians. For the famine was severe throughout the land of Egypt, and people from all around came to Egypt to buy grain from Joseph because the famine was severe throughout the world. Okay. Oh, all right. Let's see. We are on day 15 of Unshakable by Christine Caine. All right, January 15th. Take heart. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. John 16:33. Through everything that we encounter in life, we can be grateful that our God is wise, loving, and completely trustworthy. He has told us that we will have trouble because we live in this world. But when we feel overcome, we can believe that He has overcome for us. We can trust Him holy cow. We can trust Him that it's all taken care of, regardless of what it looks like. We can lean into the strength God gives us so we can hang on and press through. Just hours before he would be arrested, flogged, and crucified, Jesus experienced a level of trouble we never will. Yet he was able to say, "Take heart." He was essentially saying, "Cheer up." Why? Because Jesus, whose spirit is within you, is greater than anything the world can throw at you, even when it feels crushing. 1 John 4:4. In Him we can press on, knowing there will be a happy ending guaranteed. In Him we can refocus our sight and thoughts to be above the circumstances we're facing. We can rest that the real battle of overcoming has already been won. That's when we can walk in unshakable faith. Lord God, thank you that you have overcome in everything I could ever face. Thank you for your strength to cling to the truth. You are faithful, wise, and loving, and you are growing my faith into unshakable faith. My goodness, I had trouble seeing today. I have such a bad headache that words are jumping off the page in funny places, so it's making me pronounce Jesus as Joseph. Oh my goodness. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me this morning for devotions. Let's go ahead and end in a word of prayer. Father in heaven, thank you so much for Sundays. Thank you for the Lord's Day. May we take time today to honor you, to be with you, and just to live in your presence. I pray for everybody watching this morning that you will give them all a good day, a blessed day, comfort, peace, wisdom, and just surround us with your presence. May we keep our eyes on you today, and everything we say and do just be the center of our world today. In your precious name I pray. Amen. Okay, friends. Sarah, I haven't. Maybe I should have quinoa for breakfast. I don't know. Excuse me. I didn't sleep super well, and I don't know. I ate something that I didn't tolerate well. I don't know what it was, but I've got like sores inside my mouth from eating something. I don't know what yesterday. It's all swollen. I'm all swollen, and I have a wicked headache. So yeah, that's gonna be fun, but I'll get through it. Ibuprofen, Nuchi. I do have some Nutri-Grain stuff here, and quinoa. I can do that. Maybe I'll make some quinoa for lunch. Have a quinoa bowl for lunch. Have some Nutri-Greens for breakfast with my banana muffins. I actually could have a super swig, which I have my, yeah, Hannah, I haven't tried Icy Hot, but I have my headache wrap. So I'll probably wear that for a little bit. It's in the fridge right now. I'll probably get that out and put it on for a little while. See if I can get rid of it. It's right here. And right here. It's right here. It's like somebody put a dagger through right here and then stopped on the way and put blisters on my gums. I don't know. Hot mess. All right, guys, I love you all. I hope you have a wonderful day today. I don't hope you stay on plan. I know you're going to stay on plan because you do. That's what you do. You don't go off plan on Sundays, for goodness sakes. I love you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day today, and I will see you all back tomorrow morning. Bye, guys.